avançado. Hello? Hello. Good morning, everyone. So for anybody joining us right now, I just want to welcome you to this online live class with one-to-one. I'm just waiting for Veronica to join in, and then we'll start our class. I'm just testing the microphone, make sure that everything is working. And okay. So good morning, everyone. Good morning. Morning to you all. Morning to you all. Good morning to you all. Okay, so good morning to anybody joining us this morning for this online video class. I'm just waiting for Veronica to join in. I've just texted her on WhatsApp. And today, as usual, we're gonna work. I mean, not actually as usual, because I don't work with this every day. But we're working on a very special video lesson. Let's see, I think she might be joining me in just a few minutes. And it's okay because actually, hopefully I'm learning with these experiences. Klan we talk. There you go. Adversaries. Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. And
Okay, I'm fine too. First of all, my apologies that I started a little bit late today, but I have to adjust my clock on this computer that I'm using today. Do me a favor, share with me what time is it on yours?
7:37.
37. And and
37.
and and do you know if yours is right, if it's sharp?
I think so,
Yeah.
but uh, I think it is connected with the internet.
Mm-hmm. Ah,
Maybe.
okay, so then it adjusts itself.
Yeah.
Ah, right, okay. No, it's because I don't know why my in this MacBook that I use, because I don't use it all the time. So when I don't use it for a few weeks, I turn it on again, and for some reason it's late.
Mm.
So that's just that. So I'm fine. How was your weekend?
It was good.
Yes. Did you do
I, I
any?
I rest a lot.
You rested a lot.
Yeah, I had uh, some some articles to read.
Mm-hmm.
So a little job.
Mm-hmm.
But
Okay.
it was a nice weekend.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Good. So memory tests for you today. Let's see how much you remember from. Let- okay. Remember that last class we started watching that presentation, that talk. It's a TED talk with the black guy wearing a yellow shirt,
Yes.
and you thought you had not understood much, but actually you had understood everything except for a couple of words that were kind of new to you.
Uh-huh.
Do you remember anything about what he said? He
Uh,
had moved. He had just moved to a place called Belmont in Massachusetts,
mm-hmm.
and he said something about being on a parade. Do you remember that?
A little, yes.
What? So tell me, what do you remember?
Well, he said that he was 10,
Mm-hmm.
I thought. And um, he said he was in a parade,
Mm-hmm.
but it was um, a parade because of some day
Mm-hmm.
that was important
Mm-hmm.
to them.
Mm-hmm.
And he was scout,
Ah, okay. He was in the Boy Scout.
Boy Scout,
Okay.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
He was the Boy Scout, and because of this, he was participating in this parade, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, he was responsible for carry the American flag.
Right. So they were marching. He was 10 years old, and he was
Yeah.
carrying the American flag. Right.
Yes. And he pointed out that he was uh, he was not the only, but there was two black guys in
Mm-hmm.
the Boys Scout,
Ah,
and
okay.
he was one of them.
Right. There were only two,
Yeah,
and he was one of them. Okay.
yeah. And then in this parade,
Mm-hmm.
at some point, uh, a small group of white people,
Mm-hmm.
um, they started to not hit because hit is how can I say throw?
To throw. Hmm.
To
But can
throw.
can I just interrupt you for a second? I think it's interesting that you're using the verb to hit, because actually this is something that you heard.
Mhm,
Because you see, he said that at some point when he was marching down the street, with the American flag that he was carrying,
mhm,
he said that he started getting hit. He started being hit
mm,
by rocks, soda cans, and debris that people found on the streets, on the ground, on the floor.
Yes.
Because he said something like this, and then I started getting hit. So he was being hit.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yes.
continue. So, but
Yeah.
like you said, because people were throwing things at him.
Yes. And
Mm-hmm.
then he said that he thought that people um they didn't like the scouts, the
This
boys
the
scouts.
scouts, okay?
Yes. And uh, but um, I don't know. After a moment, the I always forgot the not the chief of the Boy Scout,
Well,
but the
their leader. We could use
leader.
perhaps
Yeah.
in this case their leader, the scouts
Yeah.
leader.
Yes.
You know, in fact, let me just share something with you. He referred, because I don't know if it was you, because I've used this with one more student.
Mhm.
Um, because he said something like this: my then mother. So he was in the Boy Scout, and he
Mhm.
said that for that parade, his then mother had allowed him to carry the flag. So I don't know if it was you who last week said that his mom was in the parade and that his mom had done something. Was it you?
Mm,
No.
no.
No. Okay, because a den mother is like a position in the hierarchy of the Boys Scout.
Okay.
Because you
Uh-huh.
see, he belonged to a special group called the Cub Scout, right?
Mhm.
And the word cub is the word that we use to refer to the offspring of a bear, for example. You know, the little bear, the baby bears, when they're very small, we refer to them as cubs,
Mhm.
right? So Cub Scouts is the name they give to kids, to the
Mhm.
group of kids when they join the Scouts, because there are different groups at different ages. So you have a teenager, I mean, a group of Scouts that is composed of teenagers, but you also
Mhm.
have the little ones, and the little ones are called Cubs Scouts. They
Cub
all belong
Scouts.
to the same group, Scouts, but they are
Mhm.
organized in teams, in groups, and so on. I guess for the little ones, they have this person who they refer to,
Mhm.
probably usually a woman, I don't know, uh, then mother. And
Mhm.
why they use this, and here is a guess actually, but I believe it's like this: when bears in winter, when they hibernate, where do you expect them to hibernate? Where do you expect them to go?
Ah, next to their mothers.
Uh-huh. But
Close
what I'm saying is this.
to moms.
Yeah, but do you imagine them kind of finding a place like a cave to go
Yes.
inside? Because
Uh-huh.
I mean, how else can they hibernate? Because they cannot hibernate in the open because they would be exposed and so on. So they need a cave, so
Yeah.
where they can
In,
hide.
in the cartoons, Scooby-Doo uh, rest in a cave. So
Yeah,
not Scooby-Doo, the what the
Zé
what
Colmeia.
Decolmeia, yes.
Well, there you go. So you see, but uh, when animals find a place like this, a shelter, they I don't know why, but we don't refer to them as a cave. We call that an animal's den. It spells Den. So
Mhm.
I'm guessing because they are the Cub Scout, there's someone called the den mother. He's Dan's mother.
Mm,
It's a position in the group, in the hierarchy of the group.
mhm,
So this person, this leader, had allowed him to carry the flag,
mhm,
right? And what you're saying is that when he started being hit by rocks, soda cans, and debris from the street, she came, his then mother, and some other members of the group came. And then what happened? What do you remember?
And then they protect him
Mm-hmm.
with their bodies.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
they escorted him, right, out of danger because that was
Hmm.
a dangerous place, right?
Yes.
What else do you remember?
Well, then he went home,
Okay.
and when he yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yes, when he came home.
yeah, his parents asked where he had fall fallen.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Where he had fallen down
Yes, where he had fallen down.
and got all scraped up.
Yes, and
Wh-
uh,
Do you remember what he said? How he
uh,
replied?
he 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 explained exactly what had happened,
Mm-hmm.
and in that moment, his parents explained to him
Mm-hmm.
what racism was
And that was the first time, wasn't it?
the first time. Yes.
Yes, he said it was the first time.
Hmm.
Excellent. Anything
And
else?
um, no, that's it.
Do you remember what your homework was?
Yes, but I didn't do it.
Well, actually, I think you did, but I'm not sure if you didn't know. No, your homework was not to watch the video
Yes. Yes.
because because I said we were going to work on it together. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
but I guess you didn't, right? You didn't
Yeah.
watch the second part of the video. Well,
Mm-hmm.
first of all, congratulations, because I'm impressed by your memory. I'm impressed by how much you remember, and it's really interesting because I've been selecting a few videos, and every time I select them, I find examples of the characters or in this case the lecturer using something that I want us to review in class, which is the use of past perfect, and you just did. You did it perfectly well because you said that when he got home, and this is the timeline, right? He got
Uh-huh.
home, he told his parents what had happened, what happened
Mm-hmm.
before, and this is a perfect situation. And
Mm-hmm.
the interesting thing is that you did, and Darrow did it too, because he described exactly the same way. Because when he's telling us about a story that happened in the past. So he said, well, when I got home, I told my parents what had happened. So
Mm-hmm.
that's really a, a really simple but at the same time very didactic example of how we can use past perfect, and you did it brilliantly well. Congratulations. Okay. Well, and then I prepared a few questions just for us to consolidate that thing, that structure, you know.
Okay.
And actually, um, you've already explained, but just for the sake of consolidating, I'm gonna go over the questions that I had prepared. Okay, so it's about the Darius story itself. So the first question is this. I guess you might remember this. The very beginning of his in his opening remarks, right? He opening his talk saying something like this: what he believes is the most effective, successful weapon against hatred, ignorance, and violence.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember what he said?
Uh,
Is the answer to this question: what is the most effective, successful weapon against hatred, ignorance, and violence?
uh, Conversation,
Communication.
communication. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, communication. Right. Uh, and and he said something about the way Americans use this tool,
Mm-hmm.
this powerful weapon. Do you remember what he
Yeah.
said?
Um,
And in his answer, he used the word
yeah,
least.
yeah. He said that. People don't don't use this weapon. um I don't know, with frequency or a
Yeah.
lot,
Yeah, no,
or use.
that's perfect. The interpretation is perfect. Let's just do the verbatim thing now.
Okay.
So the word is least, least. Because
Mm,
because you see, least is the opposite of most. The
mhm,
most, the least. So he said it's the least expensive, but also the least used by Americans. In his
mhm,
opinion, is the most effective, the most successful, but it's so contradictory to him because at the same time it's the least expensive and
mhm,
the least used communication. And then he said that in order for us to understand that, we would have to go back to 1968. And then
mhm.
comes the next question. Um, so the questions were what happened to Darrow in 1968, how old he was, where he was, what was he doing there, what was he carrying, and did he understand what was happening to him? In fact, you've already answered all of those questions when you
Yeah.
report. But but just to emphasize a little bit,
Mhm.
did he understand what was happening to him when he was being hit by rocks and debris and things like that?
Uh, no, in the in the beginning of the parade,
He
he
didn't.
he didn't,
He
because
uh-huh.
um, he said maybe he was naive,
Great. Yes.
and he thought that it was because uh, maybe that people didn't like the
The scouts.
yeah,
Yeah, so he was very naive.
very naive,
And he
yeah.
thought, well, maybe those people actually not everybody, right? Because in the beginning he described the street, right? And he
Hmm.
said that he was there were two black kids. He was one of them.
Hmm.
So everybody else was white. And lining up the streets that day on the parade, there were white people everywhere. But the people throwing things at him was a small group of white people
Yeah.
within the larger group, right? And so
Hmm.
his interpretation was that those people
Hmm.
didn't like the scouts because he
Yeah.
was very naive. Okay.
Hmm.
So the other question I had prepared was this: had anything like that ever happened to him?
No, it it hadn't.
No, it hadn't. Yes, exactly. Well done. Okay. And had his parents warned him that something like that could ever happen to him?
um, I think they hadn't
Right.
yet.
And why do you think that? Why do you think the answer is that by the way, your answer is correct, okay?
Uh-huh.
So, yes, they had never told him that something like that could ever happen to him. But what makes you think that they had never told him?
Because he said, uh, when he told to his parents what had happened,
Uh-huh.
the his parents started to talk about racism
For the
with him, and he said that was the first time.
So it doesn't make sense to imagine that they had warned him about
Yeah.
that. Okay, perfect. Well done. All right. So then moving on. Um, so here comes the interesting question. Why was he so puzzled by what happened to him? Puzzled, confused. What
Hmm.
was it about this incident that didn't make sense to him, that he couldn't
Yeah,
understand?
yeah, yeah. Um, he he said he didn't understand um, how people could hate him if they didn't know him.
Yes. How could anybody not
Yeah.
like him if they did, or worse than that, right? Hate him if they
Hmm.
didn't even know him, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And to him, I mean, what kind of impact did that have on his life?
Um,
Do you remember something about him being a musician, about him being a professional
yeah.
musician, and about him having a kind of an obsession?
Yes. Trying to he passed his life trying to understand
Uh huh.
uh, this question.
Great. So, because I guess this guy is still alive, so we're gonna assume that he's still alive. So for the past 49 years, considering that this video is kind of recent, for the past
Hmm.
49, 50 years, he's been looking for that answer.
Hmm.
How can you hate me when you don't know me? So music became his profession, and finding and interracial relationships became his obsession.
Hmm.
Okay, good.
Okay.
So let's continue. So for anybody who joins us today, because I'm still not advertising or anything, but just in case, or for anybody who watches this video later, now we're gonna watch that first part of the video one more time. Then I'm not gonna stop, and I'm gonna let play another. I'm gonna let the video roll for another 30 seconds or so. Then I'll stop, and I think I'll play it here for now. We'll just see how it goes. Okay, just give me a second. I'm gonna put the link there. Okay. Okay, here we go.
Ever since I graduated from college in 1980 with my degree in music, I've been a full-time musician, traveling and performing all over this country and around the world. And what I've come to find to be the greatest and most effective and successful weapon that we can use, known to man, to combat such adversaries as ignorance, racism, hatred, violence, is also the least expensive weapon and the one that is the least used by Americans. That weapon is called communication. And in order to understand how I arrived at this, let's go back to 1968 when I was 10 years old. I was living in Belmont, Massachusetts, just got there. And I was one of two black kids in my fourth grade class. I joined the Cub Scouts. We had a march from Lexington to Concord to commemorate the ride of Paul Revere. It was an all-white Cub Scout troop, and the sidewalks were lined with nothing but white people, cheering us on as we marched. My den mother let me carry the American flag, and somewhere as I was marching down this parade route with my fellow scouts, I began getting hit with bottles and soda pop cans and rocks and debris from the street by a small group of white spectators within the larger group. I had never experienced this before, and being naive, my first thought was, oh, they don't like the scouts. I didn't realize that I was the only scout getting hit until my den mother, troop leader, pack leader, all came rushing back and huddled over me with their bodies and escorted me out of the danger. When I got home, my mom and dad, who were not at the parade, were fixing me up, putting on mercurochrome and band-aids, and asking me, how did you fall down and get all scraped up? I told them I didn't fall down. I told them exactly what had happened. For the first time in my life, they explained racism to me. I had no idea what it was at the age of 10. But I formed a question in my mind at that time. That question was, how can you hate me when you don't even know me? And for the next 49 years, I've been looking for that answer. Music became my profession, but studying race relations became my obsession. So after graduating, I joined a country western band. Country music had become popular. I found myself in a bar, in a country bar, in which I was the only black person in there. Black people were not welcome. Although they could come in, they were not welcome. Here I was in this place, and after the first set, a white gentleman came up behind me, put his arm around my shoulder, and said, "Man, I really like your piano playing. This is the first time I ever heard a black man play piano like Jerry Lee Lewis." Now, I was not offended, but I was kind of surprised. Like, didn't this guy know the origin of Jerry Lee's style? And I said to him, I wasn't trying to be facetious, but I said, "Where do you think Jerry Lee Lewis learned how to play?" And he says, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, Jerry Lee learned that style from the same place I did, from black, blues, and boogie-woogie piano players. That's where that rockabilly rock and roll style came from." "Oh, no, 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 no. Jerry Lee invented that. I never heard no black man play like that." Well, I told the man, I know Jerry Lee Lewis personally. He's a very good friend of mine. He's told me himself where he learned how to play. The guy didn't buy that I knew Jerry Lee. He didn't buy that Jerry Lee learned anything from black people. But he was fascinated with me that he wanted to buy me a drink. I don't.
Okay.
Okay.
Right. I'm trying to limit, okay, to measure the amount of information that we cover because it's a lot of things to remember. But I guess this part because it's about his profession, career as a musician, right? I think it's not too difficult to remember stuff. So, music became his profession, and studying interracial relationships became his obsession. Right.
Yeah.
So then he said something about a job he had as a musician, right? What do you remember
Mhm.
about that? Where did he
Uh,
play? What kind
that
of music did
he,
he play there?
yeah, he said he became a country musician.
Country
And
music musician, right?
yeah, country music musician, and uh, but he said it was not common. A
Mm-hmm.
black guy.
Okay,
Uh,
so in this bar, there was
in
some,
the
it,
I
it,
I
it,
thought.
it, it was something about this bar where he played, right?
Mhm.
Okay, so black people could come in, but
Mm.
okay,
I
let me
don't know.
let me put that into a question.
Yeah.
First of all, were they allowed to come in?
Uh, I understood
They were
not.
not. But
They were.
what about this question? Let's give it a chance. Let's say they were allowed. They
Uh-huh.
had permission to come in. It was not like they were prohibited from coming in.
Mhm. Mhm.
The second question is, were they welcome?
Uh, no, they weren't.
That's it. You see, they could come in. They
Yeah.
could come to this black bar, but they were not welcome. But
Mm-hmm.
he was a musician, right? And he was playing there. Okay.
Yeah.
So then what happened?
And then he was playing piano,
Right.
and a guy,
Mm-hmm.
um, and a guy came and put his hand on his back,
Right.
and this guy said that he had liked um, his piano
Mm,
or the way that he played.
beautiful. Wait a
And
second.
yeah,
No, no, that's fantastic. Remember last week or a couple of weeks ago when we were doing some video exercises? Actually, not. We were doing uh, an exercise with a section of that film, Gifted Hands, but I had
mhm,
prepared a script with some keywords removed, and you were supposed to complete the text. In
mhm,
fact, I had written a description, a rather richer description,
uh-huh,
just for us to force ourselves to expand our vocabulary and learn a new words and take this experience to the next level. And there were
mhm,
words that you said, you see, this is something that I understand, but I can't see myself using it. Do you remember
mhm.
we had that exercise? Okay.
Yeah.
Even though we don't have the script here right now, this is also an opportunity for us to do the same thing.
Mhm.
Look, you said this guy came, put his arm around him, and said he
Yeah.
liked his piano. And you
Yeah.
said that actually he meant he liked the way he played the piano.
Yes.
How did you come to that conclusion? Are you aware of what you heard? Because your answer
Yeah.
is absolutely right. That's exactly the message. I'm just trying to
Mhm.
rescue the structure. I'm just trying to rescue the vocabulary.
Uh,
And
well,
then linking that with the verbatim thing, right?
mhm,
What did the guy say actually? Because you see, your
uh,
words, your descriptions, they're perfect from an
mhm,
interpretation point of view.
mhm.
But do you remember what the guy said?
Uh, well, I think he said this that he had liked his piano. This
But you mean the instrument?
no, it's a way to refer uh, to the musician. I don't know.
No, no, listen. I'm not making fun of you. I just think it's really cute when you understand something, but you don't even know where it's coming from. No, it's because the guy said something like this. I mean, Daryl said that this guy, when he had a break, because I assumed that they played for, I don't know, half
Uh-huh.
an hour perhaps, or something like this, and then the musicians were allowed to take a break
Mhm.
to have a drink perhaps before the next session, or maybe at the end when they stopped playing, he came off the
Mhm.
stage, and this guy came around, put his tapped him on his back or something like that, and
Mhm.
he said that and then Daryl quoted him, I really like your piano playing.
Okay.
So the
He
interesting,
said so. He said plain.
yes, yes,
Okay.
okay. And what I
I,
want,
I, yeah.
and what I'm trying to do is this: I'm trying to draw your attention
Uh-huh.
to the word playing. And then, as of course, as a student, as a teacher, I want to ask you this question:
Mhm.
what function does this word playing? What function does it play? What role does it play in the sentence when I say something like this? Oh, man, I really like your piano playing.
The way that he played.
But is this play a verb? I
Uh,
really like your piano playing.
no, it's not.
No. What is it?
It's
As a function, thinking about
uh-huh.
we have prepositions, we have verbs, we have,
Mhm.
what function is this
Yeah.
combination of words playing in the sentence?
It's an adverb.
No, it's a noun.
No, a noun. Yeah.
It's a noun because you see, so
Uh-huh.
for example, if we replace this for something else, for instance, if I were to approach you in a bar, you play piano, and I come to you and
Mhm.
say, "Oh, congratulations! I really like your style."
Mhm.
Well, style. What is a style? It's a noun, isn't it? I like
Yeah.
your style when when you're playing. I like your technique. I like, these are nouns. So I like your piano playing. So my point is, we can use ing, the ing form of a verb, like play, playing, do, doing, and so on. Of course, in progressive tenses like present continuous, past continuous, present perfect continuous, and so on. But it's really cool when it's used for something else. In this case, we use the ing to transform what is a verb, the verb to play, into a noun. The noun that describes the activity, the act of playing piano. Okay? But the reason I wanted to highlight this is that you did all of that automatically in the autopilot because you extracted the message. You analyze the context and you interpret it, and it's perfect. But I just want you to know where this is coming from and how do we justify this use? Because later, if you need to use it again with other instruments, for example, suppose there is someone playing another instrument like a guitar, and it's this guy plays, I don't know, like Mark Knopfler from Dire Straits or something like that. You're in the bar and you want to praise his abilities and say, oh man, I really like your guitar playing. It's the same thing. Okay?
Yeah. But I didn't understand the playing, but because of what he said after.
Yeah, are you
Because
sure?
he
Because
mentioned, yeah, because he mentioned Jerry Lee. And I
yeah,
know that Jerry Lee was
ah,
famous because the
ah,
way he played piano.
okay.
So
So you
that's
linked even to the next part.
yeah.
But I believe you. I believe you. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. But I honestly think that you did. I think that you heard playing, but you have already acquired this skill. What I mean is, you've already acquired a skill that enables you to get something, like receive information and receive as a package. Oh, the guy was complimenting him because he plays well. It was clear to you, but you didn't pay attention to every syllable separately, which is actually the best way to do listening. But as a student, it's good because then you know where things come from, and that will enable you to later use it yourself. Okay, but then let's carry on because I'm curious to hear what you understood about Jerry Lee Lewis. Okay, so he said that he really liked, and how did Daryl react? What happened? How did the conversation develop?
Uh, well, that's my problem because I didn't understand too much
Okay,
in that
but wait a
conversation.
second. About the Jerry Lee Lewis, try
I
to
just
make.
remember he said he uh, Jerry Lee was his friend.
Uh huh.
He met Jerry Lee.
So he knew Jerry Lee Lewis
Yeah,
personally.
yes.
Okay.
And but I didn't understand what he said about a
So
black
after
guy in
graduating, I
piano and well, I didn't understand.
Okay, no problem. So, actually, I don't believe you. I think you understood. You don't remember. But I'll tell you what, let me send a link. Actually, not send a link. I'm going to play it again. In Veronica, this time I'm going to do something different. I'm going to try to start playing directly at that position, right? But if it doesn't, if by accident, if it starts playing from the very beginning, just raise your hands and tell me because then I'll stop it from here, okay?
Okay.
So let's go because I think I can start from the very position where we stopped. So I'm going to go back to when he says that after college, he joined a band and he played in clubs, this country music. Okay?
Okay.
So here it is. Here we go.
graduating, I joined a country western band. Country music had become popular. I found myself in a bar, in a country bar, in which I was the only black person in there. Black people were not welcome. Although they could come in, they were not welcome. Here I was in this place, and after the first set, a white gentleman came up behind me, put his arm around my shoulder, and said, "Man, I really like your piano playing. This is the first time I ever heard a black man play piano like Jerry Lee Lewis." Now, I was not offended, but I was kind of surprised. Like, didn't this guy know the origin of Jerry Lee's style? And I said to him, I wasn't trying to be facetious, but I said, "Where do you think Jerry Lee Lewis learned how to play?" And he says, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Well, Jerry Lee learned that style from the same place I did, from black, blues, and boogie-woogie piano players. That's where that rockabilly rock and roll style came from." "Oh, no. Jerry Lee invented that. I never heard no black man play like that." Well, I told the man, I know Jerry Lee Lewis personally. He's a very good friend of mine. He's told me himself where he learned how to play. The guy didn't buy that I knew Jerry Lee. He didn't buy that Jerry Lee learned anything from black people. But he was fascinated with me that he wanted to buy me a drink.
Okay. So, the verb to play there, the piano playing, was it?
Yes, I heard
You did. I'm sure you did. Okay. But look, actually, congratulations on your technique, like I said earlier, I think it's great because you see, the fact that you missed that word is not that important because the message was there. You translated that into an interpretation of the message, which was really good. The guy really liked the way he played because that's exactly what he said, but with different words. Okay?
Yeah.
But then, so
So he compared him with or to, I don't know.
compared him.
Compare him,
In fact, both are correct. Compared him with.
yeah, with Jerry Lee Lewis. But he pointed out he had never seen a black guy playing like that.
Like Jerry Lee Lewis.
Yes.
Okay, and how did Daryl respond to that?
Yes. He said he was not offended
Okay, very
because of
important.
that.
He was not
Yeah.
offended.
But he
But he
he
was surprised.
thought, yeah, he was surprised because he thought that that guy didn't know anything about the origin
About the
of
origin.
the
The origin
origin
of Jerry Lee Lewis piano playing.
piano playing. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
because he explained that Jerry Lee Lewis learned to play piano in the same
Or had learned.
had learned
Had
yes
learned.
had learned the piano playing in the same place that he had learned,
Which was from?
which was from the black boogie woogie.
Piano playing.
Yeah,
Boogie woogie piano playing. Yes, the blues. Black
blues,
blues.
black blues. Yes, boogie
Uh-huh.
woogie piano playing.
And how could Daryl be so sure? Because he was sure, he was absolutely sure that
Yeah,
but he was also surprised, right? That this guy did not know the real origin of Jerry Lee Lewis piano playing.
yeah. Well, he knew that because Jerry Lee Lewis was his friend.
Right. And
Yeah. Um,
and he
and what?
no, I was just gonna say, and he had
He had told
told
him.
himself, yeah,
Yeah,
told himself where he had learned it from.
yeah,
And this gentleman, this guy in the bar, probably a white guy, right? Because he was the only black person there.
uh-huh.
How did he feel about Daryl? He didn't believe, he didn't buy.
Yeah,
Yeah? Did you
yeah.
notice they used the verb to buy there? The
Uh,
guy didn't buy.
I think so.
Yeah? But did you understand that he meant didn't believe him? Yeah?
Yes.
So this guy didn't buy what Daryl was telling him about the
Uh-huh.
origin. But how did
Yes.
he feel about Daryl? I mean, in terms of his interest,
Uh, he was very interested
he was
in,
fascinated by Daryl, by this
yes.
black man.
Uh-huh.
And then he decided to offer him to
To
pay him
drink.
a drink.
Yes.
Okay. And that's where we stopped. Let,
Uh-huh.
let's see what happens when these guys have a drink. Okay. Okay. Just a second.
I joined a country western. The first time I ever heard a black man play piano like Jerry Lee Lewis. Now, I was not offended. And he says, "What are you talking about? And play like that?" Well, I told the man, I know Jerry Lee Lewis personally. He's
Okay. And here we go.
Así que quieres aprender.
Oops. I'm sorry. It went back to the beginning, right?
Right.
Just a second. Let me try again. I don't know why it didn't work this time. 1 second. Let me share this. Yeah, it's my fault. I'm sorry. Guess it's gonna work.
personally, he's a very good friend of mine. He's told me himself where he learned how to play. The guy didn't buy that I knew Jerry Lee. He didn't buy that Jerry Lee learned anything from black people. But he was fascinated with me that he wanted to buy me a drink. I don't drink alcohol, but I went back to his table and had a cranberry juice. He took his glass, he clinked my glass and cheered me, and then he made another announcement. He said, "You know, this is the first time I ever sat down and had a drink with a black man." So I'm thinking, you know, this guy is really having a night of firsts here. And again, I was naive. And I had to ask him why 3 times before he told me, "I'm a member of the Ku Klux Klan." Well, I burst out laughing at him because I did not believe him. You know, I knew the Klan didn't just come up and embrace black people and praise their piano playing and want to hang out and buy them a drink. It doesn't work that way. But we talked and exchanged information, and I would call him every time I was to come back to this bar, and he would bring Klansmen and Klanswomen to watch me play. Then it dawned on me. This is where I can find the answer to my question that I'd.
Okay. So otherwise, if we go too far, it's too much information. So
Yeah.
Veronica, so the guy was fascinated by him, and offered to pay him a drink, right?
Yeah.
Did you understand what kind of drink he had?
Yes, because he didn't drink alcohol.
Right.
He said uh, he
Had.
had drunk,
Uh-huh.
had drinking a cranberry juice.
Yes, because he didn't drink alcohol at that time, right? So he just had a cranberry juice.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So then they
sat
drink
down. Uh-huh.
and salute, sat
Uh-huh.
down,
Uh-huh.
and the guy said it was the first time that he was sitting with a black guy,
Right.
or
So
he
the
was
first time
drinking with a black guy.
right. So the first time he had seen a black musician play like Jerry Lee Lewis, and it
Yeah.
was also the first time he was having a drink with a black man. So
a black man.
basically, and then comes the structure that we're practicing with. Until that moment, this white guy had never had a drink with a black man. He had never had a drink with a black man. How did Daryl respond to that? Was he a bit sarcastic?
He asked why? I don't remember.
No, it's because he said kind of sarcastically, but at the same with a good sense of humor. He said, "Well, this guy here is really having a night of firsts. Did you understand that message?
Yeah.
This guy
I
is,
remember that people left.
they laughed.
They left, but I didn't understand what he said.
Okay. But do you understand it now when I explain to you?
Yeah, say again,
So
please.
he said, it's almost like he talked to himself. I said, oh my God, this guy's really having a night of firsts. First time he sees a musician playing like Jerry Lee Lewis. First time he's having a drink with a black man. It's a night of firsts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay, but this meeting with this guy, right? Why was it so special? What made it very special? What did this white guy say in the end?
It was special because that guy said he was a member of Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah. Ku
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 Klux
Klux Klan.
Yes.
Right. How did Daryl react?
He didn't believe.
He didn't buy that, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So, but let's see. Let's carry on. Let's find out if it's true. But wait a second. But after that, this guy came back to the club, right? This white
Yes.
man. Do you remember what he said? He
He
used to
said,
come back.
yeah. He said that every time that he uh, went to that bar, he called the guy, and the guy always bring, I don't
Brought.
know,
Brought.
brought
Uh-huh. His
other,
friends
yeah, other members of clan.
of the clan.
Yes,
Yes. Okay.
to see him. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Let's see.
Member of the Ku Klux Klan. Well, I burst out laughing at him because I did not believe him. You know, I knew the Klan didn't just come up and embrace black people and praise their piano playing and want to hang out and buy them a drink. It doesn't work that way. But we talked and exchanged information, and I would call him every time I was to come back to this bar, and he would bring Klansmen and Klanswomen to watch me play. Then it dawned on me. This is where I can find the answer to my question that I had formed when I was 10 years old, that I've been looking for. How can you hate me when you don't even know me? Who better to ask than someone who would join an organization whose whole premise has been hating those who do not look like them and who do not believe as they believe, and sometimes exacting violence upon them. So I got back in contact with that guy some years ago.
Okay. This is a very important part. So first, before I say anything, I want to see your take on it. Okay? So what's your interpretation?
I understood that there was the place where he could find the answer of his question about how could anybody hate him without know
Without
him.
knowing him.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Um, and that's it.
Okay. Okay. No, that's brilliant from an interpretation point of view. Now I want to teach you something that is really important for us Brazilians. And I want to see, and today, exceptionally, we might do a little bit of a little translation here. Okay? Just to see, I'm curious to find out what kind of expression in Portuguese will come to your mind. Okay. So here's the situation. This guy, Daryl, a black musician, is there playing, and then his piano playing attracts attention of this white man who appreciates the way he does it. Not only that, comes back other times, bring other Klansmen and women to watch him play, and it's almost like they become friends, right? Well, and at this point in his life, Jaro says, well, and then it dawned on me. He said, well, and then it dawned on me. What better place for me to find the answer for that question. How can you hate me when you don't know me? If this group, this institution, right, was created exactly with that purpose in mind, to hate people they don't even know, and even to inflict pain on them. So where else could he find a better answer to this question than with the Klan's member, you know? But the point I'm trying to make is this. He said, and then it dawned on me.
I
What's
don't know what is done though.
but knowing the context, because we know what his search was. He said that for 49 years he's been searching for an answer to that question. And they said, now I think I know where I will find the answer. Right? And he said that by saying, oh, and then it dawned on me. What do you think that means? I can write the word down write it down for you, but I don't think the spelling here is the most important thing. Okay, he said this, and then it dawned on me.
Don't.
On me. Notice that I'm not looking for a translation of that specific word. Okay,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get an interpretation of the message. So I've been looking for an answer, and then all of a sudden there's a guy here talking to me, and I think, oh, but I'm looking for an answer for that question. Oh, but this is the perfect place for me to find the answer in the Klan.
Yeah. It's for me. It means like when a coin fall.
I cannot believe you. I cannot believe you. It's beautiful. Exactly, but that's exactly the beauty of it. You see, because you see, as a foreigner, as Brazilians learning English, sometimes from time to time we come across a situation like this. Suppose you were talking to, I don't know, I have a friend in England. He's coming to visit me. We go out for a drink, and then you want to tell this guy, pô, Brian. His name is Brian, and you want to tell Brian, Brian, pô, e aí caiu a ficha para mim. For example, suppose you're talking about your experience with the language, right? And suppose you used to be the kind of person that translated everything literally all the time. And then one day it dawned on you that you should stop translating. It dawned on you, like you said, the coin dropped. But that only makes sense to us in Portuguese. Caiu a ficha, right?
Yeah.
If we say this to anybody outside this country, they're going to, what the fuck are you talking about? The coin dropping. Where is the logic in that? I mean, do you put coins in your brain so that your brain can work? You see, it makes perfect sense for us. But if we translate this, it doesn't make any sense. So, first of all, congratulations. Beautiful interpretation. Now I want to show you where this comes from. Dawn is the verb that we use when we talk about the sunlight breaking the night. So what I'm saying is this. Look, so we go to sleep, and then let's say at midnight, and it's pitch dark in the sky. And then at about 4 o'clock in the morning, you look outside the window, depending on the time of the year, and you see that we call it daylight. You see, it's like the daylight is breaking the darkness of the sky. We also call it daybreak. So that very the very early hours of the morning, when it's still dark, but it's almost morning and so on, we call it dawn. Dawn is the very early hours of the day. In Portuguese, we say madrugada, right? Okay, and so as a phenomenon in the sky, we can use it as a verb. You see, I can say something like, a new day is dawning. What do we say in Portuguese? A new day is being born. And then people go crazy and say, days are not born. Babies are born. But why? Why? Because in English, there is a verb for that, which is the verb to dawn. And it makes perfect sense, right?
Right.
Understanding that dawn is that period, and to say, oh, a new day is dawning, it means it's like the sun is coming out and a new day is coming with the light from the sun. Okay?
Okay.
So, when you don't know something, right? For instance, I'm black. How can you hate me if you don't even know me? I don't know the answer to that question. So, where am I in terms of having an answer to that question? I'm in the dark because I can't find the answer. I'm in the dark. But then when I say, oh, but then it dawned on me. So it's like some light is shined on you, is shone on you, and then you see something. So it dawned on me. Does it make sense?
Yes.
So this is the coin dropping.
Yes.
Okay. So, dear, homework for tomorrow. Don't
Okay.
watch the video, okay? You can make notes about everything that we've seen so far, but don't watch the video. Don't spoil it, okay? And
Okay.
do you understand what we're building here? So look, he was a kid, 10 years old. He had that incident with racism. Finding that answer became his obsession. And now we've come to a point where he thinks he found the place where he's going to find the answer. Next class, we're going to see how he goes about trying to get the answer in this particular place.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
I'm sorry. Have a great day. I'll see you
Thank
tomorrow.
you for you too. See you
Okay.
tomorrow.
Bye-bye. Thanks.
Bye bye.
Okay, guys. So I'm sorry I'm losing my voice now. I don't know what happened. So tomorrow in our next online live class with Veronica and with Daryl Daves, we're going to find out what happened in his pursuit for the answer for this question. How can you hate me when you don't even know me? Okay? Thanks for watching. See you again in our next video lesson. Bye-bye.